Welcome back, Commander. I am your host for the evening, Korak, and this is Kane's Wrath on the map Tournament Odyssey. Starts off in the top right-hand corner of the map wearing the orange robe, sporting the nod gloves. Here is Underworld Fox. His opponent for the moment in the bottom left-hand corner of the map wearing the yellow robe, sporting the marked of Kane gloves. This is Senna. Both fighters ready. Begin. This cast is proudly sponsored by AFK Foundation, raising awareness for idle units everywhere. The scouting phase has already begun in this mixed bag mashup. For a quick reminder for anyone, the mixed bag mashup is games sort of given to me or grabbed by random from wherever I can get. They're just games I couldn't fit in any particular spot, so I threw them together. A good portion of these are not super competitive games. They are entirely just for fun. So you're going to see the weird, you're going to see the unskilled, and plenty of other crazy tactics that you would not normally see, because this is people just having fun with Kane's Wrath. Little bit of scouting, little bit of EMPing so far on Fox's front, who's over here on the top right and has built a couple of bike and buggies into Senna. Be interesting to see how Senna does end up dealing with this. He's going to grab some Scorpion tanks. He's got to know it's coming with having those units there. Actually, no, it looks like he's going to go mirror it. Maybe grab some rocket squads or a couple other units. We'll see here in a minute. Underworld Fox is moving his way into Senna's base, but does turn around there at the last minute. Not sure if he saw something. Nope, he was just trying to get the Raider buggy in front. Raider buggy gets in front and sees what he doesn't want to see, which of course is the rocket squads. Fox is going to move around over to the secondary, or over to the first natural expansion, I should say, to see if he can pick off an undefended harvester, which of course Senna does not have quite yet because he's still developing this main base. He does have 5 harvesters there and ready to go. Looks like Fox also is there following in suit. Laser turret out, dealing almost complete damage to this Raider buggy. Raider buggy is taken out. Senna losing 1 bike over in a small little engagement, but Underworld Fox might be putting himself in a little bit of a pickle. He's in sort of an unfortunate position, and actually he's wasted 1 rock. That's going to make a bit of difference in this fight. It looks like Senna is going to try to capitalize on that, moving his numbered rocket squads in, but still coming out on top, taking out that Raider buggy and leaving 1 bike per bike, despite Senna's forces being outnumbered. Fox getting a little bit too close to that harvester and popping off a volley where he didn't need one wasn't super great. It does look like Fox was able to grab a defensive tower. That is going to be helpful in slowing down this defense. It does kill the Awakened squad. That means no EMPs. Raider buggies moving their way in, and they're going to start taking out what forces Fox has built up. He's mirroring his opponent just a little bit here in both tactics and strategy, but it looks like Senna's coming out ahead just a little bit further than Fox in this regards. Fox does have his bikes and buggies out here on the map. These colors are a little bit hard to keep track of, but Senna is slowly but surely losing this engagement with a defensive tower in the background. Shredder turrets out on the front, and bike and buggy here to fight more bike and buggy. This defense tower has destroyed unit after unit. That's probably the most I've ever seen from a defense tower. They're very, very good into those rushes. Fox doing a great job grabbing that defense tower early on. It did make a difference. It did slow down the defense, and I think it killed 5 or 6 units, including the Awakened with its EMPs, making sure to knock that out. Fox has also been able to build up a decent amount of bike and buggy, but so has Senna, who is still mirroring Fox, and vice versa. They do have a good chunk of bike and buggy up and ready to go. I think the linchpin, what's going to decide the factor in this game, is who makes the first turn, who makes the first transition, and how effectively it goes. It can boil down to the microing of the units, but I find the transition happens to be, as in the transition from one phase of units into another phase of units, has a much more profound effect. Of course, you can mess up colossally with your micro and macro. And actually, we're getting our first real engagement. We have a mass amount of bike and buggy. Fox is not concave. There is the decoy army by Senna. Senna has the advantage right now. His units are grouped a little bit better. Fox losing a couple of units going down there in the south and getting caught up. 1 bike sent for, or 1 buggy, I should say, sent for the sacrifice, but saving the lion's shares of Fox's units. Fox does not want that fight. That fight's not going to be great for him. He is clearly outnumbered. He probably understands that a couple of those are decoyed armies, but they are going to take up a couple of shots either way. Fox going a little bit more heavily into man spam than his opponent, who's ironically marked of Kane. T3 Tech Lab out for Cinna. Cinna about to run into a little bit of the man spam of his opponent. This might be good for Fox if those rocket squads can get off a couple of good shots, and they do get one, two, maybe. Nope, they only get the one bike for the time being, but a good chunk of the rocket squads die with it, leaving only the Black Hand squad captains of those units up and around. Fox moving in the north and in the south, using a couple of these guys in the south to try to keep Cinna on his toes. Mass bike and buggy on the main base of Cinna, or what's remaining of it, but Cinna has elected to not defend it just quite yet. He does decide to turn around and move his bikes into it, getting a couple of pot shots off here and there, but they're not able to get anything real significant. One Harvester did get taken down, one Shredder turret out on the front line. That is going to make a little bit of difference. There is the drop of Tiberium, but it's not going to matter too much. It looks like Fox is still engaging here on multiple fronts. He's moving a couple of his units over there in the south and taking out that main base, going for the War Factory. War Factory is at half HP. Avatars are out, but Avatars already at half HP. Plenty of Shredder turrets out here. Fox needs to move these units around, needs to move this bike and buggy around to support this infantry, take out these Shredder turrets, and continue this engagement. He needs to double down on it. He has the advantage, and he is sort of all over the place. He's slowly but surely taking out the Shredder turrets, but a lion's share of his man spam is down, but it's being quickly replaced by more and more. Things are not looking great for Cinna. Cinna has so much on his front doorstep. He does have the advantage in tech, but that's really just about it. All the Harvesters are being attacked. They're being killed left and right. No, actually, they are managing to stay alive just a little bit. One Harvester does finally get taken down. Fox's assault is continuing, but it is beginning to peter out just a little bit. Fox losing a couple of units over here in the background. Those units needed to be in the fight as quickly as possible. I'm not sure if he did means to keep those in reserve. Either way, it is going to slow and delay this fight, which is not what Fox wants. If Fox was able to get a little bit more kills on a couple of the Harvesters, that might have been a little more worth it, but losing your entire army and not being able to do too much with that engagement isn't going to help. He wasn't able to kill the Avatar. He wasn't able to stop the Redeemer engineering facility. He was able to just slow a little bit of the harvesting, but Cinna seemed to be happy to just ignore Fox's assault. And actually, speaking of, Cinna snuck into Fox's base at some point with his bike and buggy. Fox has a little bit here to counter it, but not too much. Actually, I take it back. It does look like the forces of Cinna are slowly but surely being outnumbered over here in the north. There's only a couple of bike and buggies left from that initial assault, but the damage is done. Refinery goes down to the one click for Cinna. Redeemer is out also for Cinna. Cinna's probably going to transition into, hopefully, a bit of man spam to support that unit. Cinna doing a good job with what little units he does have left over here, taking out a couple units into Fox's secondary natural expansion. And actually, it looks like Cinna has not developed his secondary natural expansion whatsoever. That gives Fox a huge leg up, at least when it comes to all of his units, when it comes to all of his economy, because he's definitely going to be on top. Cinna does have a tech advantage for sure, at least for the time being. I don't believe Fox has any sort of tech lab just yet. There it is. But he is way behind, at least in the tech front, for whatever it is worth. Small little skirmishing assaults beginning on the left and right. Right side is definitely a lot thicker, but the upgrades for the Shredder turrets are here, and they're going to do exactly like the name says on the 10. Flame tanks are out, doing nominal damage, but being attacked by these Tiberium troopers. There are Shredder turrets everywhere on the map. Cinna happy to just soak up plenty of defense and push Fox back slowly but surely in each of these engagements as Fox begins to throw his units onto the beach that is Cinna. Most importantly, though, Fox can continue this assault and can continue these engagements and can continue to lose units left and right like this as long as he keeps Cinna out of his secondary natural expansion. Fox is already halfway through his resources. He's got to have a bit of a lead, but that won't matter if he can't make any of the gains that he needs. He can slowly begin to whittle and break down his opponent. What I would really like to see is Fox moving a base into this. We've seen Bark Jones do that. We've seen Shock Trepid do it. We've seen Bike Rush and Master Leaf all doing that. It seems to be a good strategy to put definitive pressure on it. You can get that defender's advantage inside of your opponent's natural expansion, acting as sort of an anchor for all of the damage. Tip Troopers moving in, getting a couple more kills on a few things here and there. Avatar getting taken down, as well as the Husk going down to the Bike and Buggy combination. Over in the background, if you weren't paying attention, it does sound like Fox did get a Redeemer up. Bike and Buggy escorting their way out, going to safer pastures. Tiberium Spike almost down for Cinna. That's going to hurt, losing that small little bit of lifeline, but most importantly, he's able to move his MCV into his secondary natural expansion and get some much needed economic reprieve. Plenty of Tip Troops are out here with their upgrade, with their cybernetic legs, and they're moving into the old main base of Fox. Fox is not going to be able to really do too much in order to stop that unless he can get some good shredder turrets down, as a bunch of these units begin to die for free. It does look like we have commandos up here with a couple of upgrades. That's going to be plenty enough to take out those Tip Troopers, and indeed they do that. Fox is moving back into the secondary natural expansion of Cinna, sitting here forcing his units to back off, but Cinna was able to at least get a half a load of Tiberium each from his harvesters. Refinery probably soon to follow. Fox really needs to push his advantage. At the very least, he needs to try and sit on the outer skirts of his base. Redeemer versus Redeemer action over here in the south as Fox sends his Redeemer by itself into the old main base of his opponent. There is the Ragin. There are the EMPs for it. This Redeemer is in a bad position. It does not have an engineer in it and is now taking shots to its rear armor. Fox needs to do something or he's going to lose a very expensive unit. He needs some reinforcements. If Cinna does decide to engage, he might be able to get away slowly but surely in time, but who knows? Only time will tell. Commando moving its way in, starting to take out a couple of these shredder turrets when and where they can. They are beginning to focus on the commandos slowly but surely. Venoms are out. That's probably going to be the linchpin here and there. Fox not really using his Bike and Buggy like he should be over there in the south. Those units have got to be doing a little bit of pushing. Cinna doing a much better job of capitalizing on his units. First EMP for the other Redeemer are down. Tip Troopers are here for the support. There is a Purifier out on Fox's side. Fox still does not have an engineer inside his Redeemer, but it may not matter. There is the Rage Gen. It looks like another Avatar was taken down by Fox as Fox pushes out the Redeemer of his opponent. Oh, how the turns have tabled in this engagement. We're going to see a back and forward tug of war. Buggy's moving in there, doing a little bit of scouting, taking a bunch of unnecessary damage as Fox moves his Redeemer into his opponent's base, into Cinna's main base, and it looks like that's going to be where his primary assault is. I still really want to see Fox use those units, use those Bikes and Buggies to push the Harvesters out, or at the very least punish them if they do stay up. Purifier is one shot from going down. Redeemer versus Redeemer. Still, Fox does not have an engineer inside his Redeemer. That's going to hurt him in the long run, but if he can get some immediate gains, it might make a difference, and this might be where he's able to get it. There is the Rage Gen. Purifier's moving toward, Flame Tank moving forward. Cinna's Redeemer is at half HP. Engineer moving in the north. Fox's Assault is going pretty solid. His opponent's Redeemer is half HP, but his Redeemer is getting close to dead. A little bit of EMP misclick, I believe, over there by the Awakened squad. Somehow this Redeemer by Fox is still up, and it looks like Cinna actually might lose his Redeemer beforehand. No, Fox's dies just barely before that as Redeemer after Redeemer goes down. Tip Core Troopers wrapping everything up. Purifier making for the retreat, but I'm not sure if it's going to be able to make it in time. Fox really needs to capitalize on his gains. He does get a really good shot off on the refinery of Cinna. That is going to make a difference. The more and more he can keep Cinna from harvesting, the better and better his odds will be, but he's got to find a better use for his units. MCV could get caught in a really unfortunate position. Fox here has the decoy army and plenty of infantry squads beginning to take a couple of really good pot shots at the MCV. Cinna doing his best he can to ignore it and move its way out. Construction Yard is at now half HP. Tiberium troopers moving their way in. Got to do a good job of wrapping up all of these units. Hand of Nod on the front line. Shredder turrets going down. And most importantly, harvesters are not harvesting. Flame Tank trying to move in and get a couple of shots and take out a couple of the buildings, win in where they can. Same with the north. Fox keeps snaking around looking to see what he can snack on. Flame Tank going down for free for Fox. Fox might be a little bit overloaded with the macro that he is doing, so things have begun to slow down just a little bit for him. Second Redeemer is probably on its way for Fox as it begins to build up, and it looks like Senna is still very much so long distance harvesting, but it may not matter. It may pay off in the long run because he's been on this defensive, because he saved all these units. I say that as soon as a couple of really good Flame Tanks move their way in, killing a good chunk of the power plants, killing a couple of these Shredder turrets. It looks like these Flame Tanks are really the ticket to punch for Senna. There is low power mode for Senna as Harvester after building gets taken down. The old main base of Senna, the old infrastructure for Senna, is getting taken out and is almost destroyed. Harvester moving with a set of full Tiberium over there, and it looks like Senna has not been sitting idly by. He's got a chuck of units over here that he either snuck in and sold a couple buildings. I'm not sure quite yet. Either way, it looks like the first natural expansion for Fox is all but gone, along with what's remaining of this small little main base right here. Fox can't have too much left in the gas tank. He is making good use of these Flame Tanks, but the EMPs are making even better use, and they're able to take out the last little bit of Flame Tanks of Fox. Purifier moving its way in sort of by itself. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough do enough damage to this construction yard before it dies, but what do I know? There is the EMP. If it can stop it in time, it might do something well. There's the power plant sell-off for another EMP as another Purifier is taking all of this damage, but I'm not sure how it's going to matter. They're throwing acorns at it. It looks like the MCV might go down if Senna can keep up the EMP chain. And to top it all off, here might be the final nail in the coffin as all of these flame turrets move forward and start dealing damage to all of these units. Purifier is still not down as the MCV goes down. Fox getting really, really great games in his blue flames. Doing very, very good. There's our first Vapor Bomb, and there is Senna long distance harvesting. Fox is moving further in the south with his flame tanks, probably looking for more infrastructure. That's going to be a big gain for him. Senna losing that MCV has got to sting. Looks like EMP goes off on the Purifier, but I think Fox might be happy to let it die because he's going to try to sneak this other flame tank into his opponent's base. Purifier does go down, leaving a husk behind for someone to grab if they want it. Flame tank with blue flame moving its way in, going for a set of power plants, going for refineries, but it cannot see them too well, so it's poking and prodding to see what it can see. Going for the disruption tower, hopefully, nope, deciding to ignore it. Sell off of plenty of buildings, trying to get the EMPs off on the flame tank, and they do get it just slowly but surely over time. Flame tank is going to be taken out there at the end, but not after dealing at least a decent amount of damage. Fox electing to go for the 1,000 cuts strategy, just keeping up the pressure on Senna, trying to prevent Senna really from doing anything else. Senna did capture a Purifier, it looks like, and is moving his way out and about, and is beginning to take a couple of pot shots at Fox's undefended base, but the same thing is happening, and there's going to be a Redeemer on the doorstep of Senna. If Fox can stop the small little bitty assaults over here in the north inside his base, I think he has this in the bag. I'm not sure what Senna's going to be able to do into Redeemer. He's only going to have so many EMPs that he can pop down. He can keep selling off power plants in order to get a couple of more Awakened squads, but there is enough man spam here. There's enough infantry here to support that Redeemer as it moves its way forward. It looks like Fox did go into low power mode over there as he's just absolutely ignoring those units dying in the north. This is going to be turning into a little bit of a base race. Shredder turret does finally get taken down. Upgraded power plant soon to follow right behind it, and Senna's almost completely out of this game. The only thing he has left are the units that are over here pestering pestering Fox. cell off of one of the power plants, gets an awakened squad out, followed by an EMP, and then it dies, but that is only delaying the inevitable. There it is. He's thrown in the towel. Fox getting a win up on Senna, just able to keep up the pressure, and most importantly, keep Senna from harvesting his resources. I've said it time and time again, but if you can keep your opponent from harvesting resources, it does not matter how good of a player they are. It does not matter how good their micro or macro is. If they have no economy, they will eventually stutter and die, and there's not much they can do about it after they reach a certain point, and Senna did reach that point later in the game. He wasn't able to do that, and then Fox was able to sweep in with his flames and with his purifiers. Either way, I'll see you in match number 2, Commander. Welcome back, Commander, to match number 2 on the map Toxicity. Over on the left-hand section of the map, wearing the red, sporting the nod, we have Noav. His opponent for the moment over in the top right-hand corner of the map, wearing the yellow, sporting the GDI, this is Herman. Whether or not that is or is not his name, I'm unaware. When I clicked on his profile, that is what it said. In this game, I think he's called Up Carrot, but I'm not going to call him Up Carrot, so going forward, his name is Herman, at least for the moment. Herman doing a good job of harassing his opponent, doing a really fantastic job of doing that traditional slapping out a foxhole inside your opponent's base and deal a little bit of damage. It does look like the foxhole got off just in time. That's something I don't normally see, is GDI popping out a foxhole right on top of the Tiberium spike. Not a bad strategy that will force your opponent to eventually make his way down there, and most importantly, it will force you to have to repair that. Does look like only 2 foxholes were deployed for the time being. Herman's sending his scouts over down to the south for whatever reason, maybe just trying to see when his opponent advances, but he's already going to be able to see that with this foxhole. MCV for Noav is moving its way to the south, followed shortly behind Herman. Herman moving just a little bit behind his opponent, but nothing really to write home about just quite yet. Nobody trying anything sneaky, nobody doing anything real weird. The weirdest thing I've seen so far is really just the foxhole on top of the Tiberium spike. That is not something I normally see, and it looks like Herman's also going for the refinery of Nohab, where it seems like the upper bracket players seem to go for power plants. Maybe they're softer targets, maybe they have less armor, maybe they're more cost effective to deal with. Either way, the strategy could have some effect, especially in this, because it is going to be a different game. First Pitbull is out, and it's going to be able to push out this Raider buggy for Noav. Herman taking the center of the map with a small but steady win with a couple of these trickling units. There are the APCs with only rocket squads in them so far. No upgrade yet, but War Factory on the secondary natural expansion. Scorpion tanks out for Noav, dealing with those pesky pit bulls, but will he have enough to fight the more that are coming? War Factory on the secondary natural expansion for his opponent. Looks like destruction of the foxhole did finally happen as more and more of these Scorpion tanks begin to position their way in, possibly anticipating something from Herman. Not a bad strategy. Herman's built up quite a good chunk of forces over here, but it looks like he's happy with just defending this here and there. 4 Scorpion tanks versus all of these pit bulls may not go in the Scorpion tank's favor, but they do back up, trying to get a little bit of repairs. Do move forward if they can catch those pit bulls. Catching them right there would have been really, really great, because you would have caught 3 or 4 of them split off, and that could make the difference in this fight. Looks like the refinery has taken about 1/3 of its health in damage for the time being. Would like to see just a little bit more APCs from Herman to mix up the diversity of units. These pit bulls are only going to do so much into the Scorpions, and you already know that your opponent is building into these Scorpions. He's going to need to transition into something else. There is 1 Predator tank there. Scorpion tanks moving their way forward, getting our first real engagement. 1 pit bull does go down. Herman, not wanting this engagement, is trying to back his way out as quickly as possible. I don't think Noah realizes just quite yet that he has the advantages in firepower for the time being. Looks like we do have 4, maybe 5 Predator tanks built up over here on the front line, but Noav is going to be able to see that with the scouting of his Raider buggy. Herman did garrison those troops so he can continue to see his opponent move further and further south. He seems to be on top of it a little bit when it comes to scouting, at least with those stationary scoutings, at least with the scouting early on in the beginning, and having the foresight to pop something down there to see your opponent slowly but surely moving forward. Looks like Herman has made a very good transition into a bunch of these Predator tanks. Between all of the Predator tanks, APCs, and all of this, the Predator tanks might be able to take the Scorpion tanks by themselves with a mix of these rocket squads. APCs getting caught out in a bad position, getting a small mine drop off, but not able to do too much. Doesn't look like anyone really wants this fight just quite yet. Rocket trying to get a cheeky shot in here and there where it can. Does look like Herman was the only one to get a little bit of blue Tiberium. Noev has not been on top of that, and both players are a little bit slower on developing the secondary natural expansion than I am normally used to seeing. Pitbull's in the south looking for something to grab. I think that was either a scout or a decoy army. I can't tell. Either way, there is a crazy amount of Scorpions here, and that's going to be plenty to deal with these Predator tanks. Noev really does have the advantage. If only he had a little bit of scouting here, he'd be able to see what is going on. He did get a little bit of scouting with his Raider buggy, but continue to move your forces forward and continue to get small little scouts, even if it's just small little infantry, can make a big difference. Revealing that fog of war can let you know when it's time to change your tempo. Right now, if Noev could see what we were seeing, he would see that he probably needs to push, and he probably needs to try and crush his opponents. It does look like the engagement might finally start to begin. We might get something going in earnest, and if things work out, there is the upgrade there for the Scorpion. Scorpion tanks are hitting the Predator tanks. They're getting a good concave, but the forces in the south need to move up just a little bit faster. Orca's moving their way in, going to attack the undefended Scorpion tanks. Looks like Noev might be a little overzealous. His forces are just a little bit behind each other, but it might work out in the end. Pitbull's moving in the south. If you watch the mini-map, moving into Noev's secondary natural, or first natural expansion. Orca's here still uncontested. Does look like the assault for the Scorpion tanks in the north were finally taken down, as a good chunk of those forces were whittled down for Noev. Pitbull's moving their way in, but Pitbull's not really finding the targets that they want. They do spy the T3 Tech Lab, but I'm not sure how much they're going to be able to do. At least they got some scouting before they died, before they were sent to their doom. That engagement very much so could have gone Noev's way if he had just mined his positioning just a little bit better, kept his northern units just back just a little bit. Two Pitbulls are all that remain really of this assault. Orcas moving their way in, still no answers for the Orcas, as all of these Scorpion tanks are just absolutely undefended. Nothing's really happening. Stealth tank moving into the south, attacking the secondary natural expansion of his opponent, almost killing one of these harbors. Might actually be able to take it. Two stealth tanks are here, and then they almost get the kill on the Scorpion tank, but they decide to go for the hammerheads instead, as two hammerheads go down. Watchtower comes out. Stealth tank killing a couple things here and there. You may as well finish off that harvester. You're already there, buddy. Take out what's left of that harvester. You're not going to be able to leave that unit alive for too long. Sam turrets out on the front line, but the Predator tanks are going to push their way in. Noev has finally transitioned into avatars. He does have that T3 Tech Lab, and that can make the difference here, but he needs to move his forces. He's just not been in the positions that he needs to be. Handed gets a laser fence down, and Handed goes down immediately afterwards, followed by a refinery, followed by the SAM turrets. Things are not looking good for Noev. Noev does have an obelisk of light here on the front line that is going to make a difference, and that might save his construction yard, but this is a lot of Predator tanks to deal with. If they had railguns, this would be all but over for Noev. Losing this secondary natural expansion is going to hurt, is going to sting. He invested so much into avatars, into techs, into upgrades. Construction yard almost getting taken down. There it is. Construction yard finally going down as the remainder of the Scorpion tanks are going down. Long distance harvesting is the only option for Noev right now. Noev has a good chunk of avatars, at least two avatars up and ready to go, but he did not get that transition in time. He did not get his position where he needed it, and he sort of cramped his buildings in there, making it hard for his Scorpion tanks to get a good concave, making the Predator tanks become a little bit more effective in that funnel. One Predator tank sort of either misclicked or is doing a little bit of scouting for his opponent, for Herman. Herman actually long distance harvesting Noev's resources in the north, his old main base, and getting away with it. He's also got his secondary natural expansion absolutely developed. Still no real answer right now to the hammerheads. There are these stealth tanks, but I really don't think you want to be using stealth tanks to take out air units unless it's your only real option. There's plenty of other units 3 orcas are here, and they're going to start taking out these harvesters when and where they can, taking down 2 harvesters down to half HP. Every harvester lost is going to be really painful for Noev. He needs every single one of them in peak condition. He needs to move these units and protect his resources because he's not going to be able to continue producing and fighting. But I know he's worried about these Predator tanks, which are moving in now, and Herman doing what he really wants to is keeping Noev on his back foot. He's keeping Noev in a difficult position, forcing him to go one direction or another, completely playing Herman's tempo, and it looks like the beat of the drum is going to Herman, at least for the current moment. Predator tanks moving their way forward. They are going to run into a few avatars here and there. Avatars are going to be a good answer into this, but there's still a good chunk of Predator tanks. These Predator tanks are finally getting slowly but surely whittled down. More and more air forces for Herman are here, and most importantly, they keep going for the throat. They keep going for the resources of their opponent, slowly but surely whittling them down. Speaking of whittling down, there goes another harvester, followed by a second harvester. This has got to start stinging. These pit bulls here in the front line, revealing these stealth harvesters, is not going to go well for Noev. He needs to move these avatars further up. He needs to keep protecting his line because it's not going to matter how good of a player he is if he does not have those resources. Predator tanks may have finally met their match. Noev could still be in this game, but right now I very much so think that he is on his back foot. However, he is beginning to threaten the old main base and all of the infrastructure of Herman with all of these avatars slowly but surely moving in. It looks like the transition into T3 into these avatars has really saved him for this. He did lose a bunch of harvesters. He did lose a lot of his infrastructure on the secondary natural expansion. Orcas moving their way in. Still not a real big answer to them just yet. There are a good chunk of laser buggies now, and they are going to be able to take out the Air Force. That might be just enough. They are going to be able to soak up a good chunk of damage and give a lot of diversity here. There's a whole bunch of avatars on the front line. First mana tank is out. There is the EMP, which means that mana tank is exposed, and it means that War Factory is no longer producing. Things are looking up for Noev. Can he turn this around? Can he turn this loss into a victory? It looks like things are very much so in his favor. I'm not sure what Herman has left in the tank. I'm not sure what Herman can pull off other than a mass fire sale and then beginning to build up infrastructure in the south. Laser fence for the War Factory is another mammoth is probably producing multiple EMPs, popping their way down, hitting the much needed sonic emitter, but not stopping the War Factory. Another EMP Raider Buggy doing a good job locking down this mammoth tank. Raider Buggy after Raider Buggy just doing fantastic job. They need to focus on this mammoth tank as quickly as they can because that is going to do some real damage to these avatars if it can get in its way. Chicken Leg getting stuck over there, and probably, I'm not sure who crushes who or if they just kind of stare at each other awkwardly. One Orca seems to be all that remains of the Air Force of Herman as Herman loses his first natural expansion. One Harvester going down. No, actually, he's deciding to ignore it. EMP Raider Buggy getting another good shot off on this Mammoth Tank, exposing that rear armor as the Mammoth Tank gets taken down. Another Sonic Emitter pops it out, but it doesn't matter because another EMP is right here to follow as more and more avatars begin to join the front line, and it doesn't look like Herman is going to be able to stop the assault of this. He is moving a good chunk of these Orcas in, and they are taking out units left and right. They are taking out the only air defense, but the damage might be done at this point. What I would really love to see, though, is Noev beginning to develop his secondary natural expansion. He's probably long-distance harvesting and still getting resources, and maybe that's enough. Maybe he's just going full send and risking everything for this particular biscuit. He does need to group up his forces here, but I'm not sure he matters. Maybe he thinks that his opponent doesn't have too much, as actually Stealth Tanks sneak their way in, getting a couple of good shots on the air units, get a couple of good shots on the Orcas. Sonic Emitter has popped its way out, getting a real good clean shot on these Stealth Tanks. Stealth Tanks poking and prodding around, and it looks like they're going for the throat. It looks like the avatars are moving their way in. There is the destruction of all of most of the infrastructure. Sonic Emitter not in a good enough position just quite yet to get a couple of shots off on these units, a couple of shots off on the avatars. The chicken legs are still here, and they are here to stay. There it is. There's the sell-off. There is the GG. Herman has thrown in the towel. That many avatars were just too much for him to deal with. Things were pretty shaky for Herman there early on in the beginning, or sorry, for Noev early in the beginning, as Herman just sort of kept up the pressure and very much was forcing his opponent to play to the beat of his drum, but did manage to make a really nice upset with that turnaround, with that tech lab, and just pushing with all unrelenting force into his opponent's base. Things are definitely heating up. I'll see you in match number 3, Commander. Match 3 takes place on Hurricane Lands. Hurricane Lands is sponsored by Gamer Groceries, specializing in nothing but energy drinks, pizza rolls, and existential dread. Speaking of existential dread, over in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, rocking the yellow and rocking the purple, we have Rildcom and Shrapnel playing respectively Nod and Steel Talons. Their opponents for the moment over in the top right-hand section of the map, wearing the red and green robes. We have playing Skrin and Reaper 17. This is Cyberstorm and Thanatos. I think Thanatos might be Dimitri, but I'm not quite sure. His thing says Thanatos. I don't see any other things that say otherwise. So at least for this match, I'm going to call him Thanatos. Once again, please let me know if I either mispronounced someone's name or if I got who they are entirely wrong, because nobody seems to want to stick to their original name. This game is really just turned into the game of Smurfs, so it's hard for me, a newer caster, to keep up with all of this. Yellow getting his first little bit of scouting out. No, actually, we did get a couple of the Skrinson units. The Buzzer Squads were able to make their way in between both of the main bases of Rildcom and Shrapnel over in the bottom left. Does not look like their opponents. It does not look like Rildcom and Shrapnel have been able to get any scouting off on Thanatos and Cyberstorm, so nothing really just quite yet. Scouts moving their way slowly but surely into their opponent's base. Natural expansions are being slowly but surely developed onto. For those of you who don't know, this is a little bit of a weirder map when it comes to the progression into your natural expansion. Usually one person will move their platform or their MCB, whatever it is, sort of here in the center. That way your ally can build off of their unit here. That way they can both get harvesters down, and then the other player will go into this large sect of Tiberium in order to take it. Scouts moving their way in for Shrapnel as he notices that there are a couple of Seeker tanks and that there is at least a singular Gunwalker, another Seeker tank joining the fray, moving their way into the first natural expansion for Shrapnel. Shrapnel needs to have a response to that, but he does have time. He doesn't have harvesters built up there just quite yet. And actually, Rildcom doing a little bit of cheekiness. No, actually, no, this is his natural expansion. My bad. Rildcom moving into here as opposed to Cyberstorm moving over here. I'm not sure what I was thinking as far as the progression. Speaking of progression, there is aggression over here, over in the north. It looks like Shrapnel versus Cyberstorm. Cyberstorm has the advantage, at least for the time being, but the defender's advantage is on Shrapnel's side as Seeker Tank after Seeker Tank does get taken down. There's only a couple of these left, but they does not matter because they are able to get really good shots off. Laser turret is down here for Cyberstorm. Cyberstorm doing a really good job into Shrapnel. Shrapnel not able to keep up despite this being his own base. Cyberstorm is trying to make this his base, trying to make this his home as he slowly but surely continues the assault. Rildcom moving into his opponent's base as well, moving into Thanos and fighting him at the exact same time his opponent's dealing with this. Multiple mine drops have popped their way down, preventing harvesting of that. Plenty of them go off and die slowly but surely. Lightning Spike, is still not going down. Despite the Scorpion tanks hiding behind the refinery, they're not able to do too much. Rildcom beginning to assault these shielded harvesters, but the shield was just enough in order to save it. The Lightning Spike finally taken out. Scorpion tanks pushing their opponents out, pushing Cyberstorm out, but Rildcom seems to be here to say Descents have popped their way out. Looks like they're going for the portal instead, and Thanatos is not going to be able to do too much here. He doesn't have anything he can really respond with, and these MRTs continue to repair themselves. Moving their way into the Shard Walkers. I did miss a little bit of a Foundry here, a little bit of that, but I'm not sure it matters because the bigger threat is these MRTs. No answer to the the MRTs. Railcom is just left absolutely unabated inside of Thanatos' base, and the tables have finally turned on Cyberstorm, as well as Shrapnel has won his defense and has moved into aggression. MRT getting at least the unit inside, probably getting a little bit of an upgrade. Another one did manage to join it slowly but surely. One of the MRTs almost does go down, but it's just not quite enough. Does look like the assault has slowed a little bit on Shrapnel's side. Mine drops popping their way out as these MRTs are still not being dealt with, and that one that was close to dying is still up and has begun to repair itself slowly but surely. Raider buggy going down for Shrapnel. Shrapnel not able to find the assault, not able to find the luck like Railcom is. And Railcom is still absolutely unabated inside of his base. Railcom's been able to transition into Titans and has been left almost completely alone. He does finally back his MRTs off as Shrapnel moves his assault in, but still not wanting to really engage that too much. Cyberstorm poking and prodding, weighing his options, trying to figure out whether or not he wants to assault Shrapnel or if he needs to defend his base. Not able to make a quick determination quite yet. A couple of Raider buggies moving their way in, gonna do a little bit of damage, but I'm pretty much they're sent to their doom. I'm not sure what all they're going to be able to get away with. Couple of Scorpion tanks moving their way in, sort of a onesies and twosies, but it doesn't matter because Cyberstorm is absolutely able to get a great concave on all of these units as more and more Scorpion tanks just begin to slowly but surely trickle their way in. Shrapnel just sort of throwing away his units for the time being. A real assault has begun over here. Warp Chasm is spotted, and the Eradicator Hexapod is at half HP, but is he going to be able to save it in time? He has no forces to fight this. If he could get that Eradicator Hexapod out, it would be huge. There is the shield upgrade for the tripods, but it might be too little too late. One mana tank does get taken down. The Warp Spear is down. That means no Eradicator Hexapod. Another mana tank does get taken down as Thanatos moves his way over there. That's got to sting, losing those resources, and Railcom is still at his front doorstep. Things seem to be going better for Cyberstorm over on his sector of the map as he begins to sort of dominate his opponent, as he sort of begins to dominate Shrapnel. There is the ping off, letting Cyberstorm know that he is about to get in a world of hurt, that the forces of Railcom were there, and if he had stayed there too much longer, he might have been taken out. Descents here to pad out the Annihilator tripods, but Railcom is here and he is ready. He set up a good concave for his mana tanks as they begin to move their way in. Storm Column has popped its way down, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to stop all of these upgraded mana tanks. One does get obliterated rather quickly as Focus Fire doing a really great job. Secondary mana tank is going to get taken down, but two tripods are going to go down. I'm not sure Railcom has the Thanatos has the forces to defend all this. The Scents moving their way in, and they are going to be able to help with this. They're going to be able to do a good chunk of damage, but I'm not sure how much it's going to matter. More and more mana tanks are moving their way in. It looks like we're getting another Warp Chasm, but it's probably going to get taken out here in a minute by those MRTs in the north. Annihilator tripod after Annihilator tripod absolutely getting annihilated. Shrapnel not able to make really any gains on top of Cyberstorm. Cyberstorm pushing into his opponents. It does look like Railcom might be the top contender when it comes to this particular match. It looks like he's doing really well into Thanatos. Thanatos is just not able to get any harvesting, not able to get any units out, not able to get an Eradicator Hexapod out, and he's not been able to get any help from Cyberstorm. There is the one click, but it's too little too late. I think it's only just going to delay the inevitable. Does look like the forces for Cyberstorm were caught in a bad position. The defense is here for Shrapnel. Shrapnel attacking that Eradicator Hexapod. Scorpion tanks, or not Scorpion tanks, Mammoth tanks moving their way in. One does get captured by a Mastermind with very, very little HP, but does look like Thanatos is all but out of this fight. Eradicator Hexapod getting hit on that back armor. There's the one click. There's the phase to save it. Speaking of, there is another one click there in the south to slow these Mammoth tanks. Does look like Dimitri was able to pop a barracks down and start beginning to capture a good chunk of these tripods. There it is. Thanatos throws in the towel, giving everything to Cyberstorm. Cyberstorm quickly to follow. Right there, the writing is on the wall. Railcom was just able to dominate his opponent, able to keep Thanatos on his back feet. Thank you so much for tuning in, Commander. I have been your host, Korak. Transmission out.